We're just waiting for the radio station to connect. We're just on a small delay. Of course, all the technical difficulties happened today. We'll try it again. Going live on the air here in a second. All right, while we're sitting here idle on the radio, I'm going to reboot real quick. Unfortunately, I don't have a choice. Things we do when we're on the internet and starting a radio show at the same time. I've got 2 listeners following right now. Please hang in there. We're going to start with Vanessa here in a second. I just have to reboot. This is not typical of what happens. We've got 5 people watching now. Please hang in there. I'm going to go live on the radio here in a second. I just need to get the radio station up and running. Little technical difficulty here and there. You guys hang in there for a second. You know, it's Fun Friday, and of course, Fun Friday leads you to all kinds of technical difficulties, which seem to be all on my end today, which is a lot of fun. Just rebooted. 1 second. And let's try the radio station one more time. Well, the radio station is definitely not connecting. So backstage, Marie, will you do me a quick favor and get a hold of RJ and let him know that I'm not able to connect? I've rebooted. I've done everything I can on my end.
John, they're off air. I just tried to, they're off air.
Right. So there must be a disconnect over in that area.
There might have been.
All right. So let's move on. This is Real Talk Radio 97.5 FM. Broadcasting live right now, not on the radio, but live on Facebook. So it's definitely not on my end. Woohoo!
Right?
Fun. Got Vanessa in the house. Whoop, whoop. So how you doing there, Vanessa?
I am recovering from one heck of a cold. So, yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay.
So
it was
what's
upper
happening?
Respiratory.
Well, you know, everybody is fighting different things right now, and thank God we don't use the C word.
Yeah, no joke.
You know, no joke. We've had some really good friends kind of have some difficulties the last several weeks, and we've lost some really good people. So just a FYI, if you haven't been vaccinated, I'm not telling you what to do, but I've had both Moderna shots and had no issues, and also had open heart surgery 2 years ago. So if anybody was subject to things, it would have been me. And one of my great doctors that I have, Dr. Lee Gross, is the one who recommended I get it, and I followed through and I got it. So if you have comorbidities, my suggestion would be to really look into this a little closer and don't put yourself at more risk than you think you should, and make a good, wise choice for yourself. I'm all about freedom of choice. I'm going to stand behind the Democrats on this one and say my body, my choice, even though they don't seem to be following their own echo chamber. But here we go with our show today. Getting into. But let's hear a little bit about Northport's agenda and things that are happening in Northport right now from your point of view, Vanessa.
Well, first of all, we have some canceled meetings, obviously. But I really want to kind of start off with a, what would I call it? A shout out, I'm kind of ticked off at some of the news, blaming Northport Police Department for the Brian Laundrie issue. it's so easy for people to sit back and, play Monday morning quarterback when they have no clue what has taken place or what's gone on. And, just a few things that come to my mind in this particular case. Okay, yes, there was a mistake that, on I think it was the 15th, that the police department had thought they saw him and re-enter the house. Okay. Do we know if it was during the day? Do we know if it was at night? Do we know if it was the early morning hours? Do we know if the cameras were truly up or it was someone who was watching the house? We don't know all the facts. Come on, people. I know for a fact that, there was someone who drove by that house very early morning hours of Wednesday, this day that the car was supposedly returning, and that car was there. And so it is possible that, it was very, not very dark out, but dark enough that maybe you couldn't tell who it was. So that's my first complaint. Second complaint is I've heard that the police department should have been following Mr. Bryan, during this investigative period, which was only from, say, the 11th when she was reported missing, Miss Petito, and up until he left, which was only a 2-day period. But I want to say that if it was your child and they were actually innocent, me personally, I don't believe that this person is innocent, but that's a whole different story. But if they were actually innocent and you had the police department watching your son's every move or watching your every move, how would it feel in that case? And how much backlash would we get in that case? So, there's so many different avenues to this. I'm not going to justify the fact that, there were mistakes made or a mistake made. Let's not forget that it wasn't but 72 hours until the FBI took over. So, let's stop the finger pointing. Yeah, we all want to blame someone, but the police department, who went above and beyond, honestly, between the poor neighbors and the people in that neighborhood, and the 20-something 911 calls to the residents. I'm sorry, but Northport Police Department is not the one to blame for this one. And I have my personal opinions about what happened, what occurred, and some of the facts of the case. And no, I do not have any insider information. But I do not believe that, mistaking one person for the other is actually would have changed the outcome. I think that, the parents are going to get some sort of answer to what has happened and what occurred, but, trying to get out there and some of these reports that came out and were just outlandish and way off base. We don't have 12. One of them said we had like 15 officers and one investigator. Like, where are you coming from? So, it's very upsetting. And I'll tell you why, because I really think that we need to go back to, I don't know, 30 years ago when the press actually had this modicum of reporting the truth. And that doesn't happen. It doesn't.
And I did a quick interview last week, and I got to tell you that I feel for the parents on both sides. You have to feel for the community as a whole. But overall, I feel bad for the nation who
Mm-hmm.
mis misrepresentation, not just on this, but this is a great story to follow, to see all the misrepresentation and the um, I would say the strive for money, the amount of money spent by the stations to do nothing more than catapult their ratings. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
this had nothing to do with actually doing the correct thing for the stations. This had everything to do with let me be the spotlight. And
Mm-hmm.
anytime that media, anytime, and I'm media right now, and I'm telling you
I
right now,
know.
they did the wrong thing 110% of the way. And if we have to go back and look at anything, I think we actually have to start, yes, with the two people who were involved in this to start with.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there is no doubt. And I'm just going to put it out there. I think that the parents of Mr. Laundry are as much of a victim of listening to their friend, who's a real estate lawyer, versus doing what should have been done, and that is maybe contacting a criminal lawyer and having an actual conversation with the parents and answering phone calls. And I mean, I get every aspect of it, but let's face it, there is a legal obligation, which they, all of them followed. But then there's also that moral obligation. And honestly, I could never live with myself if I had not done everything I could to help find that poor girl. But again, we don't know what was said. We don't know. So this is all speculative. But in the same case, in the same token, I only found one single newscast, which was what was it called? I think it was like News Now. It was like a Fox 4 or something. And they were literally the only ones who refused to put anything out there unless it was absolutely verified. I think his name was JD on Fox Live or something. He was literally the only one who said, no. I mean, okay, we're getting reports of that, but in the same token, we will not, we won't push that, and we won't even, talk about it until we actually get verified proof that that is true and correct. And I completely respect that news station for doing that. Because it was very far and few between to find anyone that would do that. I mean,
So
again, some of the stuff I heard was like, you got to be kidding me.
so here's my thing, and I'll tear this down with you right towards the end. And
Mm-hmm.
it was a confusing thing for me that the news media actually set a camera up for 24-hour surveillance, thinking that he was going to walk back down the street. They're idiots. I'll call them out every day of the week, complete idiots. No one was going to come down that street who did anything wrong. They were not going to show their face. They were not going to come forward. They were not even going to be relaxed enough to come home because you were camped out there, causing them not to return. So, if anything, if he did go hunting, if he did go out to the park where he was found and he did want to return home, he had no choice but to go back. And unbelievably, we all stood back as a community and kind of let it happen. And I say that as a whole because collectively we all should be pissed off because the media used us to get an advantage that they shouldn't have ever had. And we should have given the opportunity. And I think you kind of went silent there, Vanessa. Maybe you're unplugged.
No,
But
I was muted.
there
Uh,
you go. Things are happening with these cases, and not just here, but nationwide, things are happening to communities where it shreds us apart as a community. And this is where we should have all come together and said, you know what, enough of this. Get your cameras and get out of here. And if this kid is going to show back up, let him show back up and let the police handle it.
I agree.
I
I
just don't know if
honestly,
criminal would come back with 24-hour surveillance around the place where he would feel most comfortable.
I honestly think that that the media being out there did hinder to a certain degree the investigative side of things. Now, mind you, remember that the FBI had the full authority of investigation for the missing persons case. Northport PD's role was very sidelined. It really didn't have any role in anything until such time as when he was reported missing, and we know that we got a different type of date that he went missing. So let's not monkey around with where the facts lie. But I agree. I think that, camping out these poor people, I could not imagine living in that neighborhood. But then in the same token, I'm thinking to myself, if I was their neighbor, I'd pull out my credit card and I'd buy them nights in a hotel, because I'd be like, dude, get out of I just need a break. You know?
I can't even, I actually can't imagine. I don't know if anybody else can say this, but I never drove down the street, never went near the area.
Oh, no, no.
And I did it for a purpose, because first off, if I'm there, it's just causing more grief. And I believe that we had to put a police officer on that street full time the whole time. And talk about resource, all right?
Yeah.
We are already running our police force the right way. I think the police chief did a great job. I think our representation was happening in the right manner. But I got to tell you, when was the last time that Northport, and you know this, okay, you do know this, when was the last time we had national headlines on a case not like this, but with a case that involved mass hysteria?
COVID?
911. Well, COVID.
No. I mean, mass hysteria and locally, I guess,
Yes,
would be probably. Now, I mean, we've hit the national media twice when it had to do with specific cases. One, well, not really, actually 3 times, but one was an old case. It was an old case that got solved. The trail murders or whatever it was. That was a older body found, and they did kind of figure that out many, many years later. But the only two that I can come to think of is, of course, Coral Rose, which was horrible. It was just horrific, and that made national news, and that did create the hysteria to a certain degree, and with good reason, because we really didn't have a whole lot of information at the time. And then the second, of course, was Denise Amber Lee, which didn't cause the hysteria because, of course, we had found who it was immediately that had committed the crime, and I sat through those hearings many, many, many days with her family, and it was horrific to hear that evidence. And so those are the two specific national, international case information but the hysteria part, I guess, would be really the Coral Rose case. But as far as anything else.
So here's the thing, and I'm going to say this because we just laid out the major cases, and they're not back to back to back. They're not foundation setting where you're in day after day working these cases. We're talking about a community that had to really realign itself around what one could consider a normal case in any other major city, but
Mm-hmm.
not here. This was a realignment of resources, a quick turnaround, readjustment of everything that happens. And then we're going to sit back and tear our community apart because we have now armchair quarterbacks who think it could have been handled different. Well, during that point in time, I don't know that anything could have been handled different, except now, guess what? We now have that scenario that now we can now look at as a
And
path
learn.
and learn
Absolutely.
and now put some things into play that
And
we
I just
go
want to
ahead.
be clear. Let's be clear, okay? We got a missing report on the 17th, right, of September. On the 18th of September, Northport Police Department was out there in full force in the area that the body parts were, the remains were found. Okay, by that time, between the 15th and the 18th, we had such an inundation of the Myakkahatchee. We were on constant river watch out here. Remember, this is only a few streets away from me, so I know. Um, I mean, that water area that was found is a watershed, and it was most likely about 9 feet deep by that time, by the 18th. So they're out there full force in that particular area. On the 19th is when poor Gabby is found. It's done. Northport police are done at that point. FBI Colorado is taking over. Where
Right.
do they go on Monday? They go to Venice. Okay? It's no longer Northport Police Department, folks. It is the Colorado FBI working in tandem with Tampa's FBI. You know, at some point, literally, it is handed outside of the city of Northport, and we are literally just people working for another agency in an effort to find this kid. So, you know, to keep pointing fingers at our own department is so annoying, because if they just paid attention to who was in charge, when they were in charge, and how it was handled, and you know, if people paid more attention to detail versus just listening to the highlights, I think we'd have a whole lot smarter community. Let's put it that way, because you know, this all started. This is not something that's new. I've said it over and over again. You know, in the newspaper, the heading of that article is the key, because that's what's going to grab them, right? But 9 out of 10 times, that's all they do is read the title of that article, skim through the article itself, and never really read the details, unless, you know, they really have a whole lot of time, which nobody has time for anymore. But, you know, my point is that people do not have comprehensive reading or listening as a whole. We have some, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying everybody, but I'm just saying that even myself, I suffer from it. You know, I can't say that I'm not at fault as well, because there are times when people will talk in tandem, and it just goes on and on and on, and I'm lost. Last, you know, I got 5 minutes of attention, and I'm like, all right, listen, whatever you're talking about right now, I lost my interest in it, you know, and I think we've all been kind of I don't know, we've been almost created that way now with social media and all this instant gratification that's going on.
Well, and
I know.
we've had on this show, we've had quite a few conversations now pertaining to the social media shock and awe. And I'll just, you know, those are big words, shock and awe. But
Yeah,
truthfully, uh, people are triggered more by a bleep than there are a true story. Uh,
absolutely.
you know, I've had great conversations with Elaine Emmerich, and we always we communicate with each other. It's a conversation, and the beauty that we have is we have a friendship built prior to the conversations, and people forget that their friends are their friends, and they like to lose friendships because of an argument versus a conversation. I think that even with this, there are lessons to be learned on how we handle things like this on social media. And I think the media should look at how they handle things too.
Absolutely.
You know, I hear this word clickbait all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Clickbait, hey, you know, holy cow. Are we allowing, as a nation, are we allowing clickbait to be our news?
That's exactly what's happening, and it's not, and it's been happening for a long time. It's not. I mean, this is nothing new. People no longer do their own research, and we've had this conversation over and over again. And honestly, listen, Elaine and I have been friends for a very, very, very long time, and we can have some really good debates over things because we don't see eye to eye on some things.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we still are, pretty much, best friends and will be for life. Um,
Love her to death, give her a hug.
Absolutely,
It's just,
and
I
we'll,
love the fact that we're actually talking about it the way we're talking about it, because if people are listening today, I think the biggest thing that you can take away as a listener from this conversation is maybe step back before you, and I've been saying this for a long time now on the show, 2 years plus. Sometimes it's better off that you step back before you hit the keyboard, because
absolutely.
sometimes, just sometimes, you may be right, but you're not typing it the right way. And sometimes when you rethink how you're typing it, you're not tearing things apart. You're kind of maybe having a statement about something, but you're not trying to throw gasoline on the fire, so to speak. I just think we all need to kind of step back sometimes and realize that what we do in a neighborhood, like just happened, affects a lot of people.
Yes, yes,
That
yes,
didn't affect
yes.
one family, not one family. That affected many, many, many families. And people don't even understand unless you've been through it what it's like. And I'm not even going to step back and say I understand what it felt like, because guess what? Didn't go down the street and I haven't been connected to it like they have. They
Yeah,
were drug into it.
yep. I
We're
couldn't
talking,
agree more.
you know,
I mean,
I think we need to look at that as a city. Um,
mm-hmm.
we need to step back as a city too, and also maybe clap our hands for the police department, because I know for a fact that they did everything in their power to do
Within the law, within
within
the
the law
law.
to do it the right way.
Yeah.
And I think truthfully we all need to step back and
Mm-hmm.
realize that the police force we have is motivated the same way we all are every single day. Just go do the right thing and do it the right and correct way.
And let's
And
not forget that the majority of our police officers live here. They take
they
pride
do.
in their city.
They do.
And something like this is like a personal hit to themselves that that they didn't get them, or that there seems to be this possibility of a misstep on the city's behalf. Um, but let's not forget that they're all humans, and they're going to go through some post-traumatic stress as well from this entire case, not to mention all the others. And we fail to remember that the people that are in the spotlight, be it commission, be it city manager, be it I don't know, any department head that's out there, police officers, police chief, fire, just because they're in the news or they're being, they're still humans for the love of God. They're still human beings and they still have feelings and they still take what's being said personally. And, stepping back before you hit that keyboard, absolutely. And again, listen, I've been guilty. I've been guilty as much as the other, when I was on the commission, there were people that would throw a lot of midnight. I'm exhausted, and it's like, you know what? I'm going back at you.
Well,
I'm done. I'm done. And
it,
I probably
here's the
should have
thing.
stepped back and not said, did I
Go
lose
ahead.
you? I think
No,
another thing
you're
is
there.
that, okay. I think another thing is that, shoot, now I forgot what I was going to say. Yes, I should have probably stepped back, but there are a very large amount of people out there that it really doesn't matter how much facts, information that you give them, they just don't believe you. They don't believe anything. They don't even believe it if they see it themselves. So, you have to go back to, is it really, what's worth fighting for? And I'm really saddened that some people truly believe some of the reports out there that are trying to degrade our police department. Because I can tell you that we have come a long way in all of our departments. Every single one of them have made an incredible stride to become the professionals that they are today. And I know what it's like to have someone or something or a group that take one action and try to twist it so that that is your entire legacy. And that's not this department. That is not this city. This city is strong. It has an incredible future in front of it, and it has done everything that it could within the context of the law to do what was right. And alls I can say in closing is that do your homework. Do your homework.
So I'm going to throw a couple things in because doing the follow up I did on last week's show, I will tell you that my questions were not around the case. My questions were more geared towards our police officers and our staff. The
Right.
question the questions I had were how does the staff deal with what they had to endure, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and do they take it home? The comment was they try not to take it home and they talk to each other. And let me tell you, we're talking about a police force who I hope to God that I can say this and mean it 10 years from now. But I hope that this is the only case we ever have like this in our city. Now, the truth be told, um, I, I tell you, when we get to 100,000 or more people in this town, if you think we're going to maintain our quietness and we're not going to have more relevant cases, you're out of your mind. Okay. Now, saying that, we have been very blessed to be here in our community and not having the challenges of a lot of different communities. We also have a police department that is well prepared for many other topics and are ready and trained for that. I just think we're going to add one more piece to their puzzle now of how they're going to address what happened. There's going to be some training that goes on, and it's going to make our police force stronger if this ever happens again. I'm not going to say when. I'm just going to say if it ever happens again. the biggest thing I think we have to do as a community is I think we need to learn how to rally. I don't think I think we've forgotten that it's okay to be on both sides of a topic and rally together on one central focus. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I've said this before, that people need to learn how to look at each other. They need to learn how to care about each other. And first and foremost, it's okay to have an argument and still call the other person good. I
Absolutely.
and I think that's our shortcoming right now. And we're not, as a community, we're not by ourselves. This is nationwide. We have the same problem.
Oh
And,
yeah,
and
yeah. This is definitely not, this is not something that's just unique to Northport. Absolutely not. I mean, this is a international issue. It's not, I mean, this is a societal issue. Um, we have lost empathy, compassion, the understanding, what did our parents tell us? Put your feet in another person's shoes before, judging. All that's gone. It's all gone.
our parents never had social media like we have it today.
This is
Uh,
true.
I,
This is
I
true.
truly believe that social media has been a wrecking ball to simple communication. Uh,
Communication, absolutely.
and I think
Absolutely.
that's the biggest thing. And I don't want to keep harping on this, but let's talk a little bit about what the communication is like within the city right now. Um, being an ex-city commissioner, you've not had to go through things like this. There are similarities out there.
Oh,
Okay,
yes, yes, yes,
so
yes.
when it comes to things like this, how did city commissioners handle that, and what's their thought processes through that whole thing?
I mean, most city commissioners would, I know that, in the past, they would take a step back because they know what needs to be done as far as a case, the case involvement. You really don't want to get involved in that as a city commissioner. Now, you may be involved with it to a certain degree behind the scenes, but to put your face out there as the spokesperson or make comments on it or to really, have any opinion at the time of a case, you don't want to do that. So the only thing you can do is what most commissioners would do, and that is to support, uh, the department that's actually doing the investigation. Um, and then you can analyze after the case is closed later on and see what you could have done better and what you could have done worse. Here's what I must say is that Denise Amber Lee gave our police department that fortitude to go after the license plate readers. What is it that had us figure out that Mr. Laundrie was back in town? Was the license plate reader. So, you know, God bless Denise, her family, the unbelievable amount of stuff that has become positive out of that entire issue, that case, because there was so much that came out of it that you can't say anything but the fact that she definitely created a legacy. But my point is that it almost, it was one of those steps that led us to helping with this case. So now I have to say to myself, okay, well, what did we learn from this that'll help with the next? Because there will be a next. Let's face it. And it may not be to this latitude, or it may be even larger. But that's the way it goes. Every every experience is a learning experience, be it good, bad, or indifferent. And so there will be an outcome to this. There will be some sort of story that people can grab a hold of. But in this world of instant gratification, they want to blame someone. And when you have the person that they've been blaming deceased, who's, then the leaders being, be it the police department or be it the Moab Police Department or FBI or whoever they want to blame is going to be the next up. And that kind of behavior is very concerning for our future. But I was just talking about this with someone else saying that, honestly, society's cyclical. What is now, this great disconnect to communication in a matter of 10 to 15 years, or maybe 20 years, could actually turn right around and people could be banning, themselves, because I'm not I get the whole freedom of speech, the freedom of press. I completely embrace the Constitution as it's written. But in the same token, society usually has a way of changing what's reasonable to itself. And so, it could be in 20, 30 years, 5 years, 10 years, who knows, where they turn around and say, something's not right here. We're going to start talking to our neighbors, having more time with our neighbors, actually picking up phones instead of texting, and doing what's right and what's kind versus what it is that we see today. So I truly believe that this is not the end all. I think we're just in a stage of transition, and all I can do is pray that my grandchildren will be brought up with the same foundation that we were, that not everybody is bad, and that not that you should not be judging without getting all your facts straight first.
So I'm going to tell a quick story. It doesn't have really anything to do with the case. Okay,
Uh-huh.
I think it is an example for people to really remember. So we were at Twisted Fork. My wife introduced me to a lady who had a son who needed some help. The Loveland Center, and if you don't know anything about the Loveland Center, please look it up. I don't want to be the one who educates you. I want
Right.
you to educate yourselves
Mm-hmm.
on the Loveland Center and what value that brings, not just to our community, but others. Okay. But you need to understand that people are here and they don't understand where they live. They're just new. They may have been here a year. They still don't really truly understand resources.
Right.
So my wife brought me over and introduced me, and I got her the information she needed because I know about the Loveland Center. Well, he's going to be starting there in December. Okay. So honestly, that wouldn't have happened if my wife wouldn't have been open enough in friendship with a new person to be able to talk about this. And here's my point. If we're all not willing to help someone, I heard this today. If you feel like you're down in the dumps,
Mm-hmm.
why don't you go help somebody?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
talk about changing the whole outlook of your day.
Absolutely.
Thinking about yourself and how bad you have it, because I'm going to promise you, somebody out there has it worse. Somebody has it worse. And instead
Mm-hmm.
of trying to make somebody else's day the worst day possible, why don't you take that energy and try to make it the best day of somebody's life? Giving Tuesday, there you go. We got Giving
There
Tuesday.
you go. Yes.
Obviously, Giving Tuesday is a huge deal for us.
Yep.
And I know Marie
Coming up.
probably put that up there because she's just worn out of this chit chat. Smile, Marie. You can jump on there and say whatever you
Right?
want.
Poor Marie.
Yeah, Marie is just getting thrown under the bus on Facebook.
For
Marie,
what?
jump, Marie, jump in here real quick.
Okay, I'm up. I'll just stay off screen so people don't see me.
Oh,
No, get on
Yeah,
screen. I'm gonna pull you up
but they
myself.
can hear me. They can hear me because
Oh,
I'm
come
behind.
on, jump on there. You look good with your hat.
Well, the hat, but I don't have makeup on. And
See,
John does this to me once in a while. I don't put makeup on if I don't think I'm coming on screen.
I don't
Anyway,
have makeup on either, hun.
you look good. You look good, Vanessa. Giving Tuesday, and I have it up on the screen in case people aren't seeing this, but it's a global generosity movement followed by the power of social media and collaboration, unleashing the power of people to transform their communities in the world. It's just a simple idea, whether it's making someone smile, helping a neighbor or a stranger out, showing up for an issue or for people we care about, or giving something of what we have to those who need our help. Every act of generosity counts, and everyone has something to give. And I'll take it off here so you guys can see me. But one of the one of the things about this is all we do, all it was at the radio station, what we do is give people a voice. And that's one of the things that we do. And this year, during COVID, I was struggling, and so was everybody else in the world. It wasn't just a local thing. And I meet with the community leaders from around the world. And what we're seeing is we're all in the same boat. We really are. It doesn't matter if you're from Kenya or you're from South America or if you're from Taiwan. We're all there. And all it takes is, truthfully, Vanessa, you're a powerful figure in the community. John is a great guy and he does the Buckeyes. Those things that people do, maybe to other people, just a friendly hi to somebody. How about that grocery, clerk out there that's ringing up your groceries or takes them out to your car? Or how about that person that John, like John, you do a lot of good in the area that a lot of people don't know about.
Amen.
Well, that's true. But I'm not. I'm quiet about it.
Well, and yeah, not everybody yells, "Hey, look at me!"
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. And what about that neighbor? One of the things that we found during COVID is how many of the people around you and neighbors and the seniors were shut in, and nursing homes don't have anybody that can even come see them, and their relatives are up north or something. Send somebody a card. It won't be me. I'm just gonna put that out there because I don't. My son's birthday was yesterday, and he lives in Minnesota, and I didn't get him out a card. I mean, I'm bad. Stick a fork in me. But the intentions there. I called him. But when you look out there, how about you, John? How about you, Vanessa?
I am so glad you mentioned that, Marie, because as we're kind of like dissing the social media, this is a perfect example of where it is on a positive note. That social media does help to a certain degree, but there has to be a balance. And so by embracing things like Giving Tuesday, I think that the more of that positive, it will outweigh the negative. And some of the things, I mean, are spot on. I will go to a grocery store and I'll see someone who's just seems like they're, you just get that feeling, that something's not right. And I'll just say, I really appreciate that you're here, that you're working so hard, and you'll be surprised what a difference it makes in their attitude, that they're like, thank you. Because how much appreciation does that poor girl get that's sitting there, ringing up your milk, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. It's all a matter of being kind. And when people are not kind to you, it's also a matter of thinking that, guess what? It may not be about you. That it's not always about you. That sometimes people are mean because there's something else going on in their life, and they just happen to have you because they know that A, it's not going to affect you, or B, it doesn't matter if it affects you. But that the actual reason for them being unkind has to do with something within themselves or something they're going through. It has nothing to do with you.
With you. And that when you're talking about that too, restaurant workers, I'm grateful. I am so grateful that when I go into a restaurant now, that they have servers and
Right?
that they actually serve you. Because my husband and I went to Orlando a couple of weeks ago with meeting family up there, and we stopped through two, actually the third, we went through three drive-throughs. We left two of them. You had to drive up to the window to give your order instead of, where you normally do through the speaker and go through.
Mm-hmm.
And that was using 17 going that way. And it was the same way until we got to Orlando. Then it was kind of weird because in Orlando, there were people working. Actually, we were getting service there. One of the things is my family was at Disney World, and they don't have the trams running, that they have people driving them. My sister walks all the time, and she said, Marie, it was over a mile away, and you wouldn't have been able to make it. But she said she would have had a handicap sticker so we could have parked up front. but when you look at that, I am grateful for people out there that are doing a service,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and
I
show
think
up
And
for work.
we
well,
actually forget about that a lot of times. I think we tend to um, overlook the things we had prior to COVID. Halloween night, Carrie and I went down to Punta Gorda, and we were
mm,
going to listen to some live music. We decided to stop off at the Wyvern, and we thought, well, we'll go up and watch sunset up top and have a good time. The bar up top was closed. The bar inside was closed. They didn't have enough staff to open it up. So we walked on down to Harbor Social, and we had a couple drinks. But the whole time we were there, the servers were the hostess, and they were telling people, you can come in. You have to get your bar at the drink on your own because we don't have enough people to serve you. Carrie and I sat there for about an hour and a half. Carrie ended up working the gate and letting people know because the staff didn't have time. So she was, social services at the rescue. But I tell that story because I think we take for granted today what we had before. And I think when you get service and you get really good service, just thank you is not enough. And I hate to say that.
I leave
Uh,
tips. Big
I
tips.
think you remember why you're there. I have a go-to at Twisted Fork. My servers are automatically, no matter what. If I walk away from my tab, believe it or not, they start a tab for you. They already know. They put 25% tip on, so I don't have to close my tab out. They just do it for me, and that's the trust I have built with the staff there. You can build trust. I've told this story, and I'll tell it really quick because we only got 2 minutes.
I know,
Um,
right?
yeah, it was quick, but this is the community we live in. This was back in '07, '08. Um, we were gone, Carrie and I. The boys were here. We've got twin boys. They were seniors on '08. So people that are listening right now, you understand the situation. We left town. Um, I left them money. Of course, it was never enough. And they picked up the phone and they called. And I said, don't worry about it. So I called Beef O'Brady's, and set an account up there. And I called Fred at Alvaro's when Fred owned Alvaro's, and I
Yeah,
set
yeah.
them up. And so both businesses, this is 13 years ago, both businesses set up an account, and they said, yeah, take care of it. So the boys decided, hey, we're calling our friends. Of course, I had a tab when I came back that I wasn't ready for, but I tell that story for a reason. If you build relationships in our town, I lived in Ohio all my life, and my
Mm-hmm.
mom looked at me and said, oh my gosh, who in the world did that? I had to take her to the restaurants and let her see that the relationships I had were more than she ever had in her lifetime.
Isn't
And
that
I say
something?
that because the value that we have in this town is I'm not by myself. You can have those relationships, but start treating people like you want those relationships. Don't beg for the relationships, earn the relationships. Walk in like you love the place. Walk in like you appreciate what you're getting. I think today more than ever, I wish more people would do that, because I think the staff is and Kevin Rouse, I'm going to throw him out there because he's got the Axe House. You know, I there are things that local people do, and they try to not reinvent the wheel, but bring different things. If you want to try something really cool, go to the Axe House. Go try the Axe House. It's a great time. I actually visited, and I hope Kevin got the pictures that I sent on Facebook. But I visited an Axe House in Gatlinburg, and we don't have to worry about time because I'm not on the radio. We go over
Uh-oh.
a few minutes,
Yeah, but
but
my battery's low.
yeah, of course. But
Of course.
I sent him information about his business and a different style that he could do, and it's trying to help others in our community. I think that's the biggest thing, and I love the fact that you threw Giving Tuesday in, because I
Yes.
think that if people had an attitude change and just tried to do, and I look at energy, you can use it two ways. You can waste your energy being negative, or you can waste your energy being positive. Huh? I wonder which one I am. Try to figure it out.
And John, you talk about walking into some place with that kind of common ground, but to be quite honest, I think we all need to take a step back and start walking into places of service, and stop thinking that people owe us, that we owe them, because that's really where the change is. The change is where society believes that everybody owes them something. And so maybe we need to just kind of circle back around and remember that, it is Veterans Day coming up. And no, these people don't owe us. We owe them. Because everything we're talking about today, it all falls on the face of Veterans Day, honest to God, because we do get to have freedom of speech. We do have a constitution. We do have, all these departments that have the freedom to make a mistake, or the freedom to not make a mistake and do things right. And, the freedom of speech, all based off the fact that we have veterans out there that gave their lives for
Absolutely.
that. And I mean, I am very sorry, I'm going to say before my phone dies, for kind of throwing a wrench in a whole lot of stuff here, because I really didn't expect to go down this rabbit hole. I was going to talk about, sales tax and the penny tax and the meeting that's coming up. But, it is so important that we, as a nation, as a community, as individuals, step back and look at, what we can do to make this world better. Because for so long, we are so, and I put myself in there. I'm not pointing fingers by any stretch of the imagination, because I am not perfect. Contrary to popular belief, not even close. Not even close, folks.
You
Um,
just crushed my dream.
Yeah,
right?
I
It's
know.
not, no. We're judgmental. We we go off on the handle when we feel like we're being attacked, when again I go back to, it's not always about us. You know, all we can do is try. Don't get me wrong, there is no perfect person in this world, but by God, let's try. Let's just try.
And tomorrow I'm in the parade with another show host from WKDW 97.5 FM, real community radio. And we're in the Punta Gorda Veterans Parade representing WKDW. And we're throwing out candy, just throwing that out there that we're doing that tomorrow. So,
well, I want to
Well,
thank you, Marie, for all you do, because it's time for me to get out of here. Because Marie, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have this show. And don't get me wrong, we love John, we love his face, but face it, we know if it wasn't for Carrie and you, he'd never know how to work this damn computer. So,
I have no clue.
but
he's
I mean, we appreciate WKDW for actually giving us a community voice as well. So, you know, I want to throw that out there, but most importantly, thank you to our veterans, because, you know, again, we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that.
absolutely. And there's
So,
okay.
All right, but you guys have a great day. Vanessa, thanks for coming on. I look forward to next month, and we'll talk about the penny tax and other issues.
I know, right? Okay, we'll actually talk about city business. Okay.
Yeah, we will. Well, you know what?
Y'all,
I think we need a dose of medicine every once in a while.
yeah, we do. All right.
You guys have a great day. This is John Rawlings with WKDW, thanking Vanessa Carusone and Marie for hosting the show. You guys, we'll talk to you soon. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.